It is important to understand the relationship between price elasticity of demand and total revenue. Price elasticity of demand, of course, is percent change in quantity divided by percent change in price. Total revenue is simply price times quantity. Well, we know that if price goes up, quantity goes down. That's the law of demand, the inverse relationship between price and quantity. The question is, what's going to happen to total revenue? We have price going up, we have quantity going down. Which one's going to dominate? Which way is revenue going to go? Well, that all depends on what the price elasticity of demand is. If it's inelastic, meaning it's less than 1, that means that the denominator is bigger than the numerator, right? We have, in other words, the change in price is bigger than the change in quantity. The change in price bigger than the change in quantity. So that means that price will dominate and total revenue is going to move the same direction price is going to move. So, if elasticity of demand is inelastic, that means price and revenue are going to move together. They're going to move the same direction. It also means going back the other way. If we observe that a good has the price and revenue going the same direction, let's say prices go down and we see that revenue also went down. What do we know about the price elasticity of demand of that good? Well, if price and revenue are going the same direction, we know that it must be price inelastic. Now, if the price elasticity of demand is elastic, meaning it's greater than 1, that means that the numerator must be bigger than the denominator. Therefore, price goes up, quantity goes down. What happens to total revenue? Well, since we've got Q bigger than P, Q here bigger than P here. So Q is going to dominate. And revenue will go the same direction Q goes. So, if elasticity of demand is greater than 1 or elastic, that means price and revenues move in the opposite direction of each other. Okay? It also means that if we observe that, say, prices go up and revenues go down, or prices go down and revenues go up, they're going different directions, what do we know about the price elasticity of demand? We know it must be an elastic good. Now the last scenario is if the price elasticity is 1, if it's the unit elastic. In this case, price goes up, quantity goes down. What happens to total revenue? Well, in this case, if price elasticity is 1, that means the numerator and denominator are equal to each other, which means down here, the price increase and the quantity decrease offset each other, and there's no change in total revenue. So price elasticity equal to 1, no change in revenue. Price and quantity move opposite of each other, but total revenue stays the same. Now let's apply this just a little bit here. Why would this be important? Well, it is let's suppose you are the University of Nebraska and you have you're wanting to increase revenues for your football games. Now, if you've been to Nebraska or know anything about Nebraska, the University of Nebraska, the whole state practically wears red when the football team plays. The stadium is red. My guess is they've got a relatively inelastic good, these football tickets. So if they want to raise revenues, should they raise the price or lower the price? Well, if it's inelastic, price and revenues move the same direction. You want the revenues to go up. That means the price would go up. Now, you're going to have problems probably, some public relations issues. You're going to get accused of gouging and taking advantage of the loyal football fans, but, you know, they'll probably get over it. If you want the revenues to go up, that's what you would do. You raise the price. Now, if your football team is hasn't won in 5 years and the people who do show up wear masks over their faces because they're so embarrassed to be there, well, my guess is you have a relatively elastic good. And if your goal is to raise revenues, what would you do to the price? Well, if it's an elastic good, price and revenues go the opposite direction, and you want revenues to go up, so you'd lower the price. Now, there's something to keep in mind here, is that revenues are the flip side of expenditures. You may see some questions about expenditures. What happens to expenditures? If price go up and expenditures go up, what kind of good do you have, inelastic or elastic? Well, where do revenues come from? They come from expenditures. So when we're talking about revenues, we're talking about the money a firm receives. When we're talking about expenditures, we're talking about the money consumers pay. It's the same money, okay? So it's the flip side of the same coin. So keep that in mind as you go through the problems. Also, another application is airline pricing. Be sure to read in the documents there in the module about airline application. They are trying to figure out who the most price inelastic passengers are, and which days, which times of days, and so forth. And airline pricing, which seems chaotic on the surface, makes a great deal of sense if you look at it through the lens of price elasticity of demand.